Okay, on to step 5. So we've got our catalyzation, and now based on what catalyzation you chose, you're going to get to pick a type of magic. So what you're looking at here in the inner circle is all 8 aspects. You picked one of them when you chose a catalyzation in all likelihood. And if you are a true mage and you have 2 adjacent aspects on the inner track, that's going to grant you access to the outer track. These are the greater paths. So if I've got life and air as a true mage, I have access to enchantment. If I later get dream, I'm going to get access to illusion spells. And so that's why you're seeing that on the circle as is presented. Now let's get down to the spells themselves. And before we do that, we need to choose what's called an expression. We're going to choose what type of mage we are. Now, this is really kind of a role play angle. You get to choose sort of who you want your character to be. So are you charismatic? Do you want to be hyper attractive? Do you want to be very instinctual and operate off of those instincts in combat? Or do you want to be maybe a little bit more logical and use reason as an attribute? You get to choose which of those 4 that you're going to pick. And all you got to do, I'll drag a character sheet over here, so we're still working on second. All you got to do is put an E next to it. So you'll notice that he's chosen reason. I decided that second is going to be fairly logical. And so that's the choice that I made. But I could have gone any other route. He also has a 3 appearance. So mechanically, as far as dice rolls go, it would have been exactly the same if I'd chosen appearance. But in this instance, I definitely wanted to go with reason. I don't know. I just, that fits the character a little bit better. So you're sort of making that choice here. And it can't be changed later. So you want to make sure that you select something that sort of fits the character you want to play. After you've done that, it's time to pick your spells. And you're going to start off, everybody gets a bolt spell no matter what. And this is for all 8 aspects. So I don't care what aspect you're using, there is a type of bolt you can fire. If you've got earth, you're firing an acid bolt. If you have life, you're firing a laser bolt, what is called a life bolt. If you fire, you're firing a fire bolt. I mean, you can sort of extrapolate. And each one of them is listed under the spells section and does have slightly different modifiers. And we'll get down to those. When casting a spell, you can choose to increase the cost up to your magic. So let's say you're going to spend 1 point and you're casting just a simple void bolt. If you wanted to, you could spend a 2nd point of magic, and instead of that being a bolt, now it's a cone. And you could actually cast it out and hit everybody in that 15-foot cone. Let's see, investitures. So investing is pretty straightforward. It is the ability for you to increase attributes through magic, and you can sort of read here how this works. Tech mages are going to do it through their equipment. War mages are going to commit their magic directly into their bodies. But effectively, they are permanently committing pool and lowering their overall pool to increase various attributes. And what they can increase is going to be tied to what they selected when they were purchasing their aspects. So in Seket's case, he can increase his appearance. He can make himself more attractive if he wants to. There we go. Okay, so we're recording those 2 under spells. And then if you are part of a class where you get access to more spells, you're going to jump to the magic section and actually pick those spells out. So let's scroll to the top here, go back to the home page. This is probably the most clunky way I could have done it. And I'm going to the spells chapter, which is much more fleshed out. Here we go. Spells and spellcasting. So this is where you come when you're picking out your spells. And everybody is going to get at least 2 spells. Certain paths get more, and you'll see those listed. But you're going to get to pick at least a couple. So in addition to getting a bolt spell, you're going to come here. You're going to calculate your spell pool, and then you're going to pick out your spells. And one of the things that you want to be aware of is magnitude. You can increase the cost of a spell to make it do more damage. And this is how this works here. I encourage you to read this at length. So whenever you're casting a spell, you have choices to make. Like you can cast it at a weak level and do it at a base 1 point, so it's not going to take much of your pool. Or if you really need to take somebody down, you could pour a bunch of magic into it at once and sort of burn through your pool very quickly. Some of the common spell enhancements you can do is turning it into a ball or a cone, as was mentioned earlier. You could double the range. And then once you've sort of added these things in, you've increased the cost, or you decided to raise the damage in various ways by increasing the magnitude, then you're going to make your spellcasting roll. And your spellcasting roll is simply spellcasting the skill plus your expression. If you are a tech mage and you're firing through, let's say, a spell rifle, generally it's going to be ranged plus your expression. And in some cases, and it'll list this specifically under the spells, it might be agility plus your range, but usually range plus your expression if you're somebody like a tech mage. For true mages or anybody that's hard casting, for war mages as well, they're going to be making that spell casting plus expression check. And if they succeed, then the spell either manifests if it's something like they're casting flight on themselves, or if it's a damage spell, you'll resolve damage as normal, which is covered in the combat videos. And I'm not going to go over counterspelling or necessarily everything here. We're still supposed to be in character creation and just sort of looking at the spells. But really what I wanted to do here is just go down the list of spells. And you can see the list here. Life is all about light and healing. So either you're healing people or you are creating luminescent-based things like, missiles or globe of light or a shimmering ward around you, that sort of thing. Air has lightning bolt as an offensive spell. It can infuse initiative as the attribute that it's paired with. You can create Tendril of Air, which is like an extra arm. You have another appendage that's made out of air, and you can summon more than one. You can infuse your agility. They do have 2 attributes. And then finally, we have the jump and the flight spell. So the jump is just instant. It's very cheap. And flight is you're committing, you're pledging some of your magic and keeping flight active for a while. Dream is all about, camouflage and hiding and invisibility, but also includes things like charming people and infusing charisma. So people who have Dream tend to be very charismatic, and they can obscure their own trail. Blur makes them more difficult to hit with ranged attacks. Fire, obviously, you're going to get your Firebolt. They've got Flaming Weapon and Greater Flaming Weapon, so if you're using a melee weapon, you can coat it in flames and do quite a bit more damage. Strength is the attribute they infuse, so if you are any sort of upfront melee character, fire is very, very popular. And then finally, Piercing Gaze is going to let you see through illusions. So if you're dealing with somebody who has something like camouflage, and you have Piercing Gaze going, you're automatically going to get to make a roll, even if you ordinarily wouldn't, and you're probably going to see through that illusion. Void has Void Bolt. It's one of the most iconic spells in the fiction. Blink is just a short-range teleport, but can be incredibly useful because you're breaking line of sight and allowing yourself to get into a new position. So if you have Stealth, Blink and Stealth combine very, very well. Infuse Reason. If you were a Reason-based caster like, say, Second, you could increase your casting attribute, which could be pretty useful. And then finally, Weaken Armor, which will actually lower an opponent's armor and can be super useful if you have a Void Mage in a group of other mages. So the Void Mage goes first and weakens the armor on a target, and then everybody else uses their magic to take them down. Earth definitely needs to be fleshed out a little bit more. In fact, so do Spirit and Water. But you see we've got our Acid Bolt and our Infused Fortitude. With Spirit, you've got your Spirit Bolt, Infused Reason, and then Weaken Soul. Water is going to allow you to do an Ice Spike, that's your Bolt spell, and then Infuse Will. And then below that, of course, you've got descriptions of all the spells, so you can kind of take a look and see what the cost is and what the damage is going to do. As an example, we'll pull Second over here. Second's got Light Missile. And so we're going to write that down here. Oops. Light Missile damage. So it's 4 life default. And if he has a spell rifle that awards additional damage, that's going to get added here. So he'll probably have a rank 7, which would kick this up to a 6. And then he's going to have a 1 accuracy. So what I'm doing is adding accuracy directly to his skill roll. So his skill roll is going to be range plus his expression. So we've got range will probably be 3. I haven't recorded skills yet, but let's assume it's 3. Reason is 3, so that's going to be a total of 6. And then he's getting 1 more from the accuracy of the rifle. So when he actually rolls, he is rolling 7 dice, and that's what that looks like. As far as defense, that's going to be life. So if somebody has life resistance or magic resistance, then that will actually subtract from the damage. If this was like a gun firing a bullet, the defense would be armor, as an example. And that's how you do your spells. It's very, very straightforward. With that, we'll go ahead and jump into the next section. We need to get some skills down on this character sheet so you can see what the spellcasting roll is and what all else our paladin can do.